we doing with a quorum, Betsy?
Not yet, Val. We have 4, including you. I think, I thought I heard someone in the hall, but right now it's just 4.
Mariah said she might not make it at all. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Oh, and Jesse's here now, so we do have 5.
Okay. We have 6 now? We have 6? Is that right, Betsy?
Yes, we have 6, including you, Val. That's right.
Okay, so as soon as Caroline gets seated.
Recording in progress.
Good evening and welcome to the January 8th, 2026 regular meeting of the school committee. Happy New Year. School committee members, I think, are ringing in the new year with some illness, so we are a bit depleted for our open session today. First on our agenda is our consent agenda. 1A, past records of December 18th, 2025, and then 1B, accounts payable reports for December 19th and December 29th. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Jesse moves. Is there a second?
I second.
Sarah seconds. Donna, how do you vote?
Yes.
Suzanne?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Carolyn?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. Next on our agenda is the superintendent's report.
Great, thank you. Happy New Year, everyone. I am excited to mark the moment that I am 6 months in. And so just sort of slight check-in where I think most of the summer I was focused on entry, getting to know everyone, trying to make plans for the year. And And I think when I entered, I was sort of navigating, filling the positions of the four corners, and I feel like here I am 6 months in, I'm still navigating. I find myself eternally short-staffed, but I feel very good about the status of the operations and the support we've received from people on this floor and the floor below, from our town administrative colleagues, the principals, the senior leadership team, the members of the school committee, and other members of the community, our other town department heads. So I feel like everyone recognizes that we are short-staffed, and they offer their support, and I just appreciate that. So I just want to assure everyone that we are, everything's being managed, and we in good state, in good stead. We obviously are very involved with the preparation of the budget. The last update you received at the last meeting at 6.97% was our then current projection for FY27. Susan, while she's on leave, has continued to offer us support on the building of the budget. And so I know that next week at the budget subcommittee meeting, will be presented some tuitions for the subcommittee to review. These are the tuitions that we've been talking about for some of the specialized programs. And so when when that's reviewed and a couple of other things, she will put some more work on the projection for the FY27 budget. We are optimistic that we'll be able to improve on the number that you have so far, that we will be able to lower it. And so, and that will be presented publicly at your meeting on 1/22. Okay. At the same time, so we're continuing to make good progress on that. I also wanted to highlight too that we are moving, that we're making progress on our initiatives around program. In the fall, the early fall and late fall, the OSS team with our Deputy Superintendent of Office of Student Services, Karen Schmuckler, and also Matt Dubois, Senior Director, made presentations on special ed services, but also the counseling services and support for mental health. And tonight, Deputy Superintendent Robin Benoit will present on the district curriculum assessment that for ahead of their visit that will be in March. And also next week, she'll provide some other updates about the other curriculum areas in the district, just sort of for all of you to just to see where we're at. We look forward in the spring to say more to you about the work and the vision of a learner. We look forward also to say more about plans around AI, and also some of our other curriculum initiatives as we look forward about starting next curriculum review on science and technology. So I am grateful for the team that's in place, and also for the support around the table, and again with the colleagues across the town and town administrator. So thank you.
Thank you. With 2A, Superintendent Wong as the BHS.
Oh, I didn't talk about the
Accreditation.
NEASC report. Yes,
Yeah.
so sorry. So the NEASC report, so NEASC review is decennial, comes every 10 years. And then once they come visit and they produce a report, they come and do check-ins. And so I just enclosed this letter for you to review, as that it documents their last check-in when they came in October. And it was mostly just to let you know that according to the commission, the high school's been making good progress on all the things that they had recommended, and then highlighted that there were 2 areas that needed continued focus. But actually, one of them is part of the vision of the learner work. and the other is the written curriculum document for all courses. And so there were some questions I received about what that one means. It's not about content. NEOS does not actually address content. They just want to make, this is more about formatting. It's about how their curriculum across the subject areas are formatted consistently. And so in a way that can be shared with the public, so you can follow what's going on at the high school. But it's not about content, it's more about format. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the superintendent?
Yeah, Val, it's Suzanne. So it says they voted to award the school continue accreditation. So we have it for the next 10 years? Is that what that means?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great, congratulations to us.
They would have told you that before, though, I think. So I didn't realize that was,
Well, because they gave some
yes.
few suggestions and they're coming back, and so they've already granted us accreditation.
Yes.
So that's just part of the whole process, but they won't do this big formal thing for another 10 years. Is that how that works?
Right. I thought this was a check-in. So what marked your tenure is before this. This October visit was like some of the interim progress reporting that they do.
Okay,
And so they're letting us know you're making good progress.
great, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, it's Sarah. So Bella, just to understand, we're always looking at the budget implications of anything. So when you say that curriculum work still needs to happen and it's just formatting, is that something that we need to think about in terms of, I know not for this next year, not right away, teacher hours, what is it that would bring us up to date in terms of what we need to do there?
Actually, I don't know the answer in terms of what's built in the budget to support. I don't know if you do. Sure, thank you. And I shouldn't dismiss it as just formatting. I mean, it's more, they're just not dictating content, but they want to make sure that we have all our sequencing in order, that we've reflected on the curriculum that it exists, and also that it's formatted similarly across the subject areas.
Yeah, so what they're looking for is consistency, that it's in place, that it can be passed from teacher to teacher, that you can look at it and follow the scope and sequence. It doesn't just live in the minds or in individual places with individual people. So it's part of the system. There is some money within the budget that was placed within the budget this year to continue some of that work that teachers have begun to engage in as departments. So collectively, people that teach, say, the biology course would be working together to make sure that there's a clear outline for the course and that that's all in writing, that we have that and that it's a consistent system of documents.
And so it is teacher hours as opposed to be a department head hours.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
so because it really takes everybody, it's not just something that a department leader would do, type up all the courses. It really is, at its best, it's really kind of thinking collectively through our courses systematically and how they're aligned to standards and how our assessment is aligned to that as well. So really, and documenting that.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none. We have no public comment today. So Dr. Benoit, don't go far because we're up to number 4, overview of DESE District Curriculum Assessment Review, March 2026.
Okay, so we can kind of just jump right into this. So we have been chosen. We've been chosen for a district review. And that is, I guess, kind of the way to think about it, because this is a little bit different than other reviews that may come periodically every so many number of years. And this is really, when you think about the district review, and we'll talk about it compared to other reviews in a minute, it's really thinking about it's almost like a 360 is kind of how I think about it, in terms of it looks at our system as a whole and it gives us feedback on our systems, policies, practices, according to the 6 areas of the district standards. So what, makes a a strong, well-functioning district. Curriculum and instruction and professional learning are all part of that, but so are our systems around finance and student supports, and HR and all of those things. So they'll look at all of that. This is conducted under Mass General Law. And DESE does this for a few districts per year. It's like a handful of districts. And like I said, it's not necessarily one that you can count of like, oh, we had it 3 years ago, so we're due up. It's also not one that you can opt out of or ask for an extension, as we found out. But so when you're chosen, you do have to go through the review. It is conducted with DESE and an outside research partner. So we've been working with them as we prepare. So as well, and they'll be conducting the on-site visits when we get there. Yep.
Yeah, have we had one done before? And if so, how long ago?
I don't know that we've had one done before. When I look on the DESE website, the reports, because all the reports become public and you can read them for other districts. So that's one of the things, if you want to see what a report looks like. There is a link. I think when you have this, it may be linked for you. You can, there's an FAQ on that site. There's more information about the district review. And you can also go and read those of other districts so you can see how they're structured or what kind of feedback they might be giving. So if you're interested in that as well. And so, it does give us a snapshot of our systems and our practices, which is actually not a bad thing, right? Like it's an outside look as we're all wayfinding as well within the district. It can inform planning and prioritization, and it's going to give us feedback on both areas of strength, areas for growth, and some recommendations. And so that can be really valuable to us as a district in kind of highlighting progress that we're making, celebrating strengths, also being able to focus on some areas that might inform a strategic plan. And so as we think forward to the next strategic plan, or help us think systematically about key places to focus effort and attention on improvement. So next slide. So as I said, this is a little bit different than other reviews that we might have. So the integrated monitoring review, which is formerly the tiered focus monitoring, that's really looking about compliance related to special education and civil rights. We have not had the one in the middle, which would be really focused on schools that need assistance based on accountability. So our schools are not in that position where they might be needing some support to strengthen instruction. And then the district review, which is really kind of gives us, it's more of a narrative report that we get. And it really does go through each of the standards. It's really tailored to our district. So it's just something to think about as we go through. So it will be tailored to us as a district. Next slide. This slide just shows the 6 strands that they'll be looking at and some of the indicators underneath as they review our documents, as they review our practices and protocols, as they conduct their on-site visit and meet with and have interviews and focus groups, and we'll talk about those in a minute, and then they compile that all together as part of our eventual report that we'll get to. Next slide, sorry. One thing is that really understanding those standards or really looking at those areas of focus is the foundation of the report that you're going to see. And, if you do look at some of the ones from other districts, you'll really see that it does follow those key areas and gives a narrative description of what's going on in the district, a snapshot, and we'll always end with strengths, areas for growth, and then some recommendations. The other thing is to think about is that it's really not a rubric. It's not like they're placing you at a place on a rubric like meeting or partially meeting. It's really just kind of thinking narratively about how you're measuring up against those standards. And again, like I said, they'll note places where you're doing where you have strong systems in place, where things are going really well, some places where maybe you could focus some attention and some recommendations for how to go about that or next steps. They don't report on, while they report on the 6th strands, in general, they're not going to necessarily report on every single indicator. They'll really focus on what seems most important to our district at this moment. So, next slide. So this is just the general process timeline. So right now we're really in this place of document collection. So that's where I'm at the moment, kind of looking at all of they give us a list of documents and evidence that they'd like us to provide, and we provide those that we can. And if we have parts that are missing, that's just something that we don't have at the moment. So really going through, and it really is collecting evidence and documents from all parts of our system. So right now I'm in the process of reaching out to principals and coordinators or other departments to ask for certain documents and where they are, so that I can make sure that we upload them. Our goal is to have our documents uploaded by mid-February, which gives plenty of time to begin looking at them before the visit. They'll continue to do a document review after. It's all part of the evidence collection process. But we have determined our site visit days. So our site visit days are that last week in March. We don't actually have, we're not in school on Friday, April 2nd. So they'll be doing our visit most likely within those 4 days. It's something that Superintendent and Wong and I will talk with our 2 liaisons when we meet in early February, whether that's going to be enough time or whether they need to extend into the week after or the week before as they plan their on-site part of the process. That week in March is really, it's classroom observations, and they will observe across all grade levels and in all schools. They're not going to visit every classroom, but a sampling. And they will hold focus groups and interviews, and we'll talk about what groups they would be looking for, and the school committee would be one of those focus groups and a representative sample. After they visit us in April, like I said, they're still reviewing all of our, what they've seen and what they've heard when they've been here, plus all of the documents that we've provided. They're really looking at no one single piece of evidence or documentation. Both, it's really thinking about any of the claims that they make at the end about strengths or growth or recommendations are really based on a triangulation of data that they gather from across. So about 3 to 6 months after the visit, we should get our report. We'll have a findings call as a district, and we will have the opportunity to review anything in the report, correct anything that we don't feel is accurate, or ask questions, things like that. And then it will go to publication. So our report will become public, just as other districts do, and we will know what the timeline is for disseminating our findings, to our community, and really think about how we use that information to plan forward, right? How does it help inform, like I said, our strategic plan? How does it inform where we place our efforts, where we need to call attention, or maybe we need to put some resources? One thing to note is when they do classroom observations, this is really important to note, they use a consistent observation format. All of their observers are trained. It's a number of observers that come. So they are, there is consistency in that. No teacher names or classroom names are used. They're really looking at instruction across grade bands. So within the report that we receive and that becomes public, it's really looking at what does instruction look like K2? What does it look like 3-5? What does it look like 6-8 and at the high school? So they're really looking at kind of consistency of experience for kids, and what does that look like across our district, and how does that, what they can tell from the number of observations that they do. And so my understanding about the visit is there will be observation days, and that so some days they'll be here doing strictly observation, and some days will be those interviews and focus groups. They're not necessarily going on simultaneously, so you're not pulling people out of classrooms at a time when you might also have people observing. We will know what the structure of that scheduled visit is, and that's part of what Superintendent Wong and I will be working on with our liaison to make what makes the most sense for that visit. Next slide. So this is just a list of the kinds of documents. And these are some of the documents that they're asking for. So as we think about like these 6 standards, these are some of the documents that we would be providing them as we, that are in the pre. And then next slide, there are also just some preparation documents on the next slide that are really thinking about helping them plan their visits. So maps of the school, schedules, instructional staff, who are the administrators in the district, all of those types of things. Our curriculum table and inventory. So this is a place that they're really looking at, along with some other evidence of our curriculum, where they might be looking at unit plans or things like that. They're looking at the curriculum table and inventory is really around what resources we're using for instruction. So for instance, highlighting, what are we using in math for elementary and middle school? What resources have they been reviewed by Curate and Ed Reports? Are they supplemental? Are they our core instructional resource? Are there places that we have district created materials? And it's just kind of like, what are we using? They want to kind of get a sense of all the resources that we're using and how we're using them. And that goes K-12. And it's really I shouldn't say only, it's really in the areas of ELA, math, science, and social studies that they're focused on collecting that information about instructional resources. They will look at our data from DESE. So any of the, the data that we get about our district, anything that's available publicly about our district on the DESE site in terms of profile and our MCAS results and all of those things, they'll be looking at those. And then prior to the visit, there will be district and school leader questionnaires. And so that really helps them prepare for as they come in and as they're thinking about focus groups. Next slide. Interviews and focus groups, they're a semi-structured interview protocol. They are recorded, and they are, as I said, they will be on different days from the observation days. And so many will be, some will be individual interviews, some will be with groups. And there will be a forum for caregivers. So that one will be via Zoom so that, parents will have access. So as we get closer, we'll be needing to explain to parents what this is and how they can participate. And, so it's really from all parts of our district that they'll be taking information in focus groups. And then next slide. And so again, this is about the class protocol. So there is a little link there if you want to know more about what that protocol is. This is the observation protocol that's used by all of the observers. And just a structure of what those observations are like. They're about 20 minutes in classrooms. And as I said, it's really important to understand that the results are aggregated by grade bands and no educator information is used. It's not looking about like, what does instruction look like in Robin's classroom? It's really looking at like, what does instruction look like in our elementary classrooms? What does it look like in our middle school classrooms and our high school classrooms? And really thinking about the experience for students. Next slide. So after the visit, there are 3 groups involved, right? So there is AIR, which is the research group, and they're the ones that are doing the site visit and analyzing data. So in yellow, you'll see what, their responsibility after our visit will be analyzing that data, beginning to draft the report and findings. DESE then also reviews that, edits the report, drafts recommendations based on what their findings are, and conducts that findings call. And then our responsibility after that is to really review that report carefully and note to make sure it's factually accurate, or places where we have questions. And then the final slide is really thinking about that last part is really between, the responsibility lies with DESE and ourselves as we think, as they publish our report, and provides the opportunity for optional monitoring and support if we would like to, or if there are recommendations around that. And then we'll be given some guidance about how to use the report to help guide kind of future work that we do as a district. So it's really, as I think about it, it's this 360 look. It's an opportunity to get some outside feedback. And it's really, like I said, it's about thinking about the system, right? Like, what are our systems? What are our practices? What are our procedures? What are our policies? And how do they support student learning and the learning students' experience in the end? So how does it all work together with students at the center? I think that's the final slide we have. Any
Thank
questions?
you. Questions for
Oh,
anybody?
wait, Superintendent Wong has a.
Sure. So thank you, Robin. So full confession, when we were told we had been picked for this, and it is a discretionary selection, not all districts get it, and some districts may never get it, as opposed to some other reviews where you're on a cyclical cycle every 6 years or every 3 years. And we received I think the notification came to the district late spring, so prior to my arrival and to Robin's arrival. And so I did call and say, could we have another year? Could we just have another year? And they said no. So I give a lot of credit to, it's a lot. And for a team that's new, and also for a district that's gone through so much transition, it's actually a lot to ask. It's not something that we in the SLT team can do all by ourselves. It really involves everybody across the district, and people are going to be coming into their classrooms. So I just give a lot of credit to Robin and everyone who's working on it. So it will be helpful. It's definitely will be helpful to see what they will generate in this report. And I still would have liked a year, but it's okay. So we're doing it. I'm just going to say too at the outfront that I have some trepidation about the subjectivity, the inherent subjectivity that will be part of this report. It's like there's not a rubric. There are these standards, and it's interviews, and it's going to be narrative. So I am interested, and somewhat okay. It's, I think it'll be as good as the team that we get. And so I'm curious what the credentials of the team that will be assigned to us and their experience in schools. But yeah, here we go. Anyway, so if you have questions.
Val?
Go ahead, Jesse. I'm not seeing the full room right now. Oh, there we go.
Right.
Jesse, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, to Bella's point, do we have any information about what districts who have gone through this have actually benefited? How and what was their benefit of going through this process? Because it's, given what you said earlier about the understaffing, given when I read this through today in terms of how many hours are going to be required, sucking away from everybody for this for some period of time, for which we have no time, do districts that have gone through this report some very big positive that makes this like worth it for us to participate?
So that was part of our initial, it's a fairly new process. I don't think they've gone through it that many times.
The oldest
isn't
reports
that.
I could find, sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt, the oldest reports that I noted seem to go back to about 2014. So, about, a little over 10 years. And I don't know if the process has changed during that time too. I don't know. So when I looked at a report to see, at reports to see kind of what the structure was, I was looking more at ones that have been done more recently in the last couple of years.
Right, and then I was just going to add that none of the links in the thing work. That's
Oh,
why I
yours.
couldn't go to them today when
Okay.
I was looking for them, so maybe there's some.
Well, I will tell you, I did try to go to the DESE site earlier. I think it's down for maintenance till about 9:30 tonight, or parts of it. So
Okay.
but
All right,
I don't
whatever.
know if in the PowerPoint, if they come out as hot links, but
Yeah,
we can
check, they
yeah.
didn't seem to work.
But I will say that I
Trying
think
to do
there is
some
some
research.
site maintenance going on for DESI.
Okay, thank you.
Other
So-
questions?
Yeah, so I wanted to say that I think that the unfortunate standing of the timing can be mitigated if we are sure that we know who we are, right? I hope that as a senior leadership team, you'll be able to have the conversations that you want to have to lead into this process of what your goals are for us so that this doesn't influence us too much and change the way that we would have liked to do things, to have in place the way that we would like to see things go. So I think that with making sure that you don't get underwater by responding to this and do the work that you would have done anyway of goal setting, I think that can be mitigated.
And I just want to add, one of the things that was stressed to us in our initial meeting with them is the understanding of context. I think because Superintendent Wong had reached out, like they are going in understanding that as a district, most recently, we've been under, some change, and that we entered the year as interim leaders, beginning to go through this process. So there is some understanding of that context. So I think there's some acknowledgement of that in the process.
Anyone else?
Sorry. Bob?
Thank you. Bella, excuse me, did they give you any reason for saying no? Was there a reason?
No, they just said, nope, we picked you, and I don't,
I don't actually think you can opt out.
well, I wasn't asking to opt
Or,
out.
but-
I was asking, could you just come back
Back.
next year?
Yeah,
So they didn't know. I think maybe they have a policy of no, that they, because otherwise maybe too many people would be asking, and it
Well,
would
this
set
is-
that precedent.
but it's pretty unusual the leadership transition that we've had.
Yeah.
And I don't know, when did you ask for a consideration for a later visit?
As soon as I was aware that this was something,
This is summer.
So were you
Yeah.
still interim and
So-
Robin?
apparently the notice was given in June, and when I started, we didn't receive that information in the transition.
Okay.
So then the subsequent message was, oh, you missed the orientation that occurred. And so here's the next one. And that's when I knew, and I was like, wait a minute. So,
Duh.
well, you don't know me completely, but you know me well enough that I definitely advocated if we could have another year.
Yeah.
It was just more, it's okay, we're gonna do it, we can do it.
Right.
There were other things that we had that need our attention in this year. And so it just means we're splitting our attention. And so, but it's okay, we'll see what it has to say. Like I said, I'm a little wondering about the subjectivity of it,
Right, right.
so we'll see.
So, one more thing. So this evaluation or assessment of our system, it doesn't require us to do a lengthy self-reflection as we do in the NEASC report, right? We just have to provide documents, and then they observe classrooms, they talk with leadership, and then they write a report up. So it's, it would have been more challenging if we had to do like an NEASC self-reflection on the system, but we don't have to do that, right?
No, but as I indicated, the district actually got notice in the spring. And so I'm assuming that the veteran staff that received that information would have had a better idea about how to prepare the staff and the documentation and the formatting of what it might look like. So by the time we learned that so we didn't get that lead time
Right.
that we could have taken advantage of more in the summer. And so I appreciate all the staff basically absorbing the needs that are required by participating in this review, that
I just want to,
Yeah.
finally,
Yeah.
I just want to support your concern about the subjectivity of the whole thing. Having gone through many NEASC evaluations over time, some committees were great and some committees were not so great. And the not so great committees presented a problem. And if they're going to, they're going to be doing classroom observations, and your concern about their qualification, others' concern about qualification for doing that kind of work is a real concern. So hopefully we'll have a good team, and hopefully the system will come out looking pretty good.
Thank you.
Suzanne?
Yeah, a couple of thoughts, if you don't mind. So it seems to me it's going to take a considerable amount of work and time with our staff, both in classrooms and out of classrooms. Do they provide any budget at all for substitutes or coverage or any
Not
data collection? Okay. Well, so I think that might be some feedback we might want to give at some point, that it is going to keep some kind of record of roughly about what that's taking from our people. Another comment separate from that, but goes back to this concern about who will be doing the observation and the work, the team, as Bob said. I served for DESE on college prep programs, and we were volunteers. And in fact, I just got notice the other day asking if I want to participate again. So I don't know and that's DESE, I don't know if they use the same, schedule, volunteers that they train. We're trained, but it's still people who volunteer and, I mean, they're selected, they're vetted, but, there's some concern about who the people might be.
So I know that the research group that does the data collection and does the data review and the observations are all part of a research group. It's a little bit different than NEAS because I've served on many NEAS committees that where you go and do a visit and it is a volunteer and it does vary. I don't know that much about the outside group, but it is a research group that does the.
But some of the DESE people,
They're not doing the site visit and
They're
the
not doing site
observations.
visits,
They end up with the report and making recommendations, but the research is conducted by someone else.
okay. And I'm not opposed to this at all. I do think the timing is unfortunate, but it is what it is. And maybe it's good because we're kind of at the point in our time in where we are that we want to move forward and kind of take a moment to reflect. I'm just curious if are they doing that to help us and/or to inform DESE of what districts need?
That's a good question.
I think they say it's to help us,
Us, really.
Yeah.
but we're going to publish it. So I kind of feel like, okay, is it for us or?
Well, I guess my thinking is, if they come to us and they say, we're a high-achieving district, and they see that, but they see where some of our concerns might be, or some challenges we have, that they might reflect and say, maybe this is something that DESE could provide, some help with this, or, just, if it's happening in our district, maybe it's happening in other districts, and maybe DESE could provide something, resources, some thoughts, data. I don't know. I would hope that it's a two-way thing. I don't have any control over DESE, but it's just a thought.
Yeah, I just recall that when they began this a bunch of years ago, it was part of their oversight responsibility. That was their articulation of why they were going to do this, because it was new. And they said, we're DESE, we're going to make sure that the districts are doing a good job. And we're going to, as part of that, we're going to do these reviews. So I think they view it as oversight of us.
I assume there was a hiatus during the pandemic. So I think this is starting anew. That's why, I didn't think they had been doing that many recently. So we'll see how it goes.
There aren't any more hands, Val.
Oh, great, thank you.
Oh,
Go ahead, Carolyn.
thanks, Val. Thanks, Robin. This is super clear, and I would echo others. I appreciate the time it's going to take, and I do hope and think probably in the end, even though it's not great timing, maybe it will end up feeling like you've sort of front-loaded work that you were going to do next year or the year after anyway, and you'll figure out where things are and what we have and don't have. Anyway, be that as it may. Jesse said something about links, and I did preview your slides, but I didn't notice links. Are we able to see other reports online? And that's in your slides?
Yes, it's
Okay.
actually on the DESI website.
Like, is it easy to find?
Yes, that,
Google Desi District Reviews.
yeah.
Okay, okay,
There's a page and it will have one of the sidebar links,
okay,
district report.
great, thanks.
Thank you. Moving on to number 5 on our agenda, school committee actions, which is discussion and possible approval of the superintendent's request to offer one-time early retirement incentives for members of the Brookline Educators Union, Unit A. Superintendent Wong.
Thank you. So I am requesting that you approve this request of an early retirement incentive of $20,000 each to Brookline Educators Unit A, so specifically Unit A. As we are building the budget for FY27, we have reviewed our staffing sections across the schools. We have identified sections to reduce. And when we looked at that all together with principals and senior leadership team, we did identify people that would be impacted. More often in a situation like this, it will be staff that are non-PTS without professional teacher status. So the contract requires that we go to that staff before we go to PTS staff. Sometimes in some of the schools we looked at, there weren't any non-PTS staff in that school, so sometimes it will be a PTS person who will then have the opportunity to bump into another school, and then maybe in that situation, more likely than not, impact a non-PTS staff person. In the conversations with principals, some time to time, someone would say, oh, there's someone who's been thinking about retiring, but they've been thinking about it for a few years. I don't know if this is the year or not. And so there was that. When someone retires and we hire the replacement, there is usually a savings in the differential, because usually the person retiring is higher in the step and lane than the person that we hire to replace them. So the amount we're suggesting would allow us some savings in that differential if someone retired and the person that we would hire. But also we were thinking, if there are people that are pretty close to wanting to retire and this would help them sort of make that decision, we might be able to save some of the non-PTS staff that we would like to keep. So this is the rationale. It's just one time. We're not expecting to do this every year. It is uniquely tailored to the circumstances we were planning the budget for FY27. Yes.
I have a question. Has there been any analysis done on what we think the uptake would be and the potential savings?
Conservatively, this is probably the most that we could offer to guarantee that there would be some savings. It's so even when someone, we can't assume everyone who retires is on the top lane on the top step. So it depends. And then when we hire to replace, there is a guidance that we ask people to adhere to. And sometimes, it's not a perfect science. You
Right,
might hire above or below. So we have a predictor of an individual case, maybe the savings could be 40,000, but on another case, maybe there's no savings. So this is sort of a estimate.
Yeah, I think I'll ask it slightly differently.
Okay.
Do you think it's like 5 people will potentially take this, or 40 people will potentially?
Okay. I'm thinking more like 5-ish.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my
5 to
question too.
yeah,
That was
5
my
to
question
10.
too, Val. Just
Yeah.
what we think the uptick will be and what the impact is going to be anyway.
Yeah, it's more 5 to 10. And it's also, as I said, there, in the conversations with principals, there might be specific people that might take it and that might help save someone else's position in that building.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Other questions?
I do have a question. It's Carolyn.
Yep, go ahead.
Thanks. So I'm interested in Val's question. So I'm just gonna, for the sake of argument, call it 5. So if 5 people took this, we'd be spending $100,000, right? Yes. So far, so good. And then the thinking is, I think what Val was asking is like, we're spending 100 and saving on top of that a substantial amount? Or, so is it sort of more about a meaningful savings, or is it more about
It will,
some sort of reason to want to, yeah,
so the amount is to assure there will be some savings, and this will not close the budget gap. So it'll be some sort of modest savings, but also it's a benefit because longitudinally it will carry out, in the years forward, that you're now carrying someone at a lower step salary lane than someone who might be at top step.
understood.
But that's why I described the other part of it is seeing if maybe we could save some of the non-PTS staff.
And then, so retire means like retire, not just like I'll leave my position and potentially go
So-
to another district. And then, sorry, just related question. Once someone retires and their benefits start, does that come out of the like, is there any financial impact on our budget when people retire in terms of or is that like a whole completely separate system of paying retirement benefits?
So to answer the first part of your question, it says the incentive payment would be made in the employee's final paycheck conditional on actual retirement. So yes, we
Yep.
wouldn't want to just pay people to go somewhere else. But I'm glad you asked that. So when someone retires, they may or may, I think you're talking about the health benefit upon retirement. Is that what you're asking?
I don't know what the benefits are, but I guess there's health and do people get like a pension? But the pension, I guess, is not related to our operating budget.
So this is Unit A.
Yep.
So the teacher's pension is not part of our budget nor part of the town's budget.
Okay,
If it were a different unit, that's a different
Okay.
kind of pension.
okay,
But the Unit A pension is
Okay.
not.
okay,
Some of our members of the Unit A will carry a benefit, health insurance benefit upon retirement, but not all. And so that's carried as part of, that OPEB liability, the retirement benefit. But they would do it either in this year or another year. Like it would happen ultimately, but it's not reflected in our budget. But it's still part of a town expense. And if I said before, as I have said before, we're taking all from the same pie.
Other questions?
Yeah, Val?
Go ahead, Jesse, thanks.
Yeah, just a question. So is there a scenario where we don't come out positive?
We tried to pick a number that,
Right, so 5 teachers retire, and we pay out $100,000. Is there a scenario in which we end up, it costs us more to replace them, and so we end up losing money? We got 5 people off the payroll, but we ended up spending 140 or 180 or $200,000 as we ripple the people up that were taking that position and finally bring in, you know, a less expensive FTE, 5 people. What's the scenario on the other side where potentially it costs the district more money than this payout? In that case, to me, it would seem not something to support.
so we have a guidance of new hires that's significantly lower than pretty much everybody else who's eligible to retire. So it would be if we made a hire that matched, then we wouldn't do it. But generally, we're at masters, I believe, step 3, but I'm not sure if it's step 5. But it's much lower than generally what anyone would retire at.
We did this every year in terms of seeing who's retiring, who's leaving, how much they were making. And then, like you said, Masters plus 3 was the average hiring salary that we agreed to. So assuming, let's do quick math, 5 people leave, they're making $100,000 each. Then we hire 5 people at $65,000 each. We say 35,000 times 5, that's $175,000 that covers the $100,000 that you paid them. So, you know, it's going to be probably $7,500 savings, assuming that's the formula.
Right, and so it's not going to be a big, as I said, it's not going to close the gap. It's more about, we have an investment in these non-PTS people. We have an investment in them and being part of our future. So it's just an idea. Yes.
Thank you. Others? Is there a motion to approve? I'll move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Jesse seconds. Any further discussion? Donna?
Yes.
Suzanne?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Carolyn?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to our subcommittee and liaison reports. Curriculum, is there an update?
There's no update. We're meeting towards the end of January.
Okay. DEIJ, Sarah, any update?
No update?
Okay. Finance, Mariah's not here. Government relations?
Yes, we're meeting on Monday to kind of finalize the priorities for our legislators meeting, and we will then bring that to the school committee in our next meeting.
Thank you.
Val, Finance is meeting next week, actually.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jesse.
So, and one of the key pieces will be a presentation meeting with Charlie Simmons of the Building Department on an updated request he made that we all got on R&M for FY27, which is a significant increase over what was approved by us last year.
Okay.
And we're asking for details so that hopefully he'll come with line item level information.
You said Wednesday at 4?
Yes, next Wednesday at 4. Yeah.
Thanks.
5.
And sorry, quickly on the government relations, Val, are you going to be able, we talked about.
Yeah,
seeing
no,
if you
at
can't
the
make
time
it.
it's
Okay.
during work hours, sorry.
Okay.
Negotiations and policy, Andy's not here. Any additional reports from ERSC?
I think policy is next week as well, on Thursday. So there are 2, I think, on the agenda, instructional materials and a first pass through what Mariah's been working on with Susan, which is fiscal policy. And those are both already in the meeting packet online, because I checked today with Betsy.
Okay, and do you have an ERSC report, Jesse, by chance?
I do, actually. I missed the live December 18th one for the same reason that I missed this live meeting, although I used the 3 hours and 44 minutes of this meeting to take me all the way from one place to another driving, so I got to listen to the entire thing. And then followed it up with that evening with the ERSC meeting that I missed. And so the one piece about the ERSC meeting that, the full committee meeting, was that there was a member who, Sergio Mendigliani, who made a proposal that elected officials should sort of refrain from being critically active in the preparation of the final reports for two reasons. One was, and I've spoken to him personally about this as well, so I'm not speaking out of turn. One was for potential bias by a school committee or select board member in terms of making sure that the suggestions about what we do for the town or the schools are not somehow slanted by our own personal official perspectives as elected officials. And the second was that if, for whatever reason, there was no bias, but the information that came out in the final report from the Expenditure and Revenues Committee somehow upset any person, and then they sort of said, well, who are the elected officials that carried this view and somehow used it against elected officials that were in the final report? Could that be utilized in a negative way against the two select board members and the two or maybe three, Val, because I know you were on Futures school committee members.
Yep.
And so there was a discussion about it. I was initially told there was a vote to keep us sort of far away from it, but there was no vote. And so until further notice, we're going to continue doing exactly what we're doing, which is, at least in my case, full 12-cylinder engine forward on the part that I'm doing. So that's on the full committee side. Specifically on the town committee, subcommittee, which I'm chairing, we met this morning, this afternoon, because there was a town quarterly admin meeting this morning. And basically where we are right now is we've had 3 threads running within the 4 of us on the subcommittee in terms of preparing preparing the bones of a report that will only deal with the town side. Sadaf Kazmi is dealing with the school side, and she'd have to speak for where they are right now. But on the town side, we have sort of a framework that discusses how we got to the fiscal crisis that Brookline is facing, what we think the numbers will be to help us over the next 3 years, and then third is what are some of the fiscal policies that people need to have in mind when we're looking towards what could be a substantial amount in an override. The second report has to do with a department by department analysis, something we did between July and September of last year, which was to look at all 15 major departments in the town and to look at what their budgets were, what their FTE counts were, what people do, what it costs, what their needs to have are, and what will we have to live without if we have to begin to reduce staff because of not having enough budget, what services and programs, et cetera. And so that we're trying to condense down so we have something that's readable for the everyday voter of these 15 departments. So it's everything from the select board costs to council on aging, to planning department, to public health, DPW, et cetera. And the third one is a report that one of our members in the subcommittee is working on trying to encapsulate the financials, things like property taxes, structural deficits, free cash, reserve funds, stabilization funds, one by one, so that, again, some of the, I guess, say, mythology that is around in the town, people talk about things like free cash is free, so why can't we spend it? Things like that, and trying to just put into very sort of short, almost pithy, short paragraphs that just hit the target on what each of these things are that people talk about so that it's very clear. And so we're in the middle, right, as of today's meeting, our plan is to put those into a single shared document that will start to now put the meat in there. There's a lot of meat in there already. I shouldn't say it's just the bones of it. I'd say it's about like half done, but we're still going to be putting pieces together in there as we're working very closely with Chaz, Melissa, Charlie Young, and Lincoln Heineman from Finance to try to put all the pieces together, and that'll happen over the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Thank you, Jesse. Futures meets next Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. Is there any new business? Just speak. I can't see hands right now, so if you have any. Okay. Hearing none. Moving to our executive session. I move to meet an executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, 21A for the following purposes. Purpose 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the BEU units A, B, and the paraprofessional unit. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the committee and the chair so declares. Purpose 3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation, Diane Johnson versus Public Schools of Brookline and the town of Brookline. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the committee and the chair so declares. Purpose 3, to discuss strategy with respect to anticipated litigation. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the committee and the chair so declares. And purpose 7, to review and approve executive session minutes from the December 4th, 2025 executive session. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Jesse seconds. Donna, how do you vote?
Yes.
Suzanne?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes?
Carolyn?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. We will not be returning to open session. Thank you all and have a good evening.